South Florida is shifting before our eyes. You can feel it in the skyline, in the traffic, in the price of your morning coffee, shoot, even in the cost of energy drinks. Big money is moving in. Longtime neighborhoods are completely transforming overnight, and what used to be predictable isn't so predictable anymore. Something is building here, and it's not just about the cranes in the sky or the new names on the buildings, which are sweet, by the way. The rise of luxury towers, the flood of out-of-state wealth, honestly the out-of-country wealth, the slow unraveling of affordability, and the strange silence around what is ultimately being lost along the way are not separate stories. They're all part of the same shift. And by the time people realize what is actually happening, they might not recognize the place they grew up or even the place that they thought they knew. So who is all this change really for? If you look up, you'll see it. The skyline isn't just growing, it's completely transforming. In Miami alone, developers are planning or building more than 133 new towers, representing over 28,000 new units across Miami Metro. These aren't your standard high-rises, they're vertical status symbols. Think like the Bentley residences in Sunny Isles, which is bringing 60 stories of glass and engineering, complete with in-unit car elevators, which will be sick. The Waldorf Astoria is setting records in Pompano Beach with already over 70% sold before the foundation was even poured. And the Aston Martin residences now stand as the tallest residential tower south of New York City. That is, until the Waldorf Astoria Miami is to be built, that is. This trend isn't limited to Miami though. Fort Lauderdale's waterfront is being reshaped by branded luxury developments. Then you have West Palm, where older commercial buildings are quietly disappearing, being replaced by sleek towers aimed at a different kind of buyer. Honestly, the projects in West Palm are unreal. These projects appear to be designed with high net worth individuals in mind, often buyers from out of state or overseas looking for exclusivity, amenities, and long-term value. For many, South Florida has become more than just a warm weather escape. It's a place to really anchor wealth, secure lifestyle perks, or expand a portfolio. But beneath the surface, there could be a ripple effect that some aren't really talking about. Some older condo buildings are seeing longer days on market. Inventory that once moved pretty quickly is now competing with modern glass towers. Median home prices in Miami-Dade have reached roughly $675,000 in certain neighborhoods. Some so-called starter homes are now crossing the $1 million mark. So this raises some questions. If new inventory keeps climbing in price and older units are struggling to keep pace, what happens to the middle-income buyers in just that middle ground? And how does that shift the tone, access, and rhythm of all these local neighborhoods? Because while the skyline may be rising and completely changing, what that means for everyday residents is still kind of unfolding. If you're watching this because you're thinking about buying, selling, or even investing in South Florida real estate, reach out to us. My team and I are on the ground every single day here, and we can help you navigate what these changes mean for your next move or your next investment. Once you start pulling on the thread of who gets to stay and who's being left behind, you start to see something a little bit deeper starting to unravel. It started small, a few hedge fund offices opening quietly in Brickell, venture capital meetings that used to happen in Manhattan now happen over coffee in Coconut Grove. What began as a few scattered moves has grown into something much, much larger. Let's be real though, I'd rather be in the warmth than the freezing cold. Since the pandemic, Palm Beach County has added nearly 90,000 residents. What used to be really just a seasonal second home market is becoming a permanent base for high-income earners. At the same time, office buildings in downtown Fort Lauderdale are reporting a 38% increase in workforce activity since 2020. South Florida now leads the entire country in office return rates, which is pretty surprising. Roughly 90% of workers are back on site compared to the national average, which is much closer to around that 70% mark. Some firms are fully in person, while others have adopted hybrid models that keep weekdays busy, but see noticeable drops on Fridays, especially summer Fridays. Still, the numbers show a region that values face-to-face business in a way many metros no longer do. Commercial real estate tells the same story. In West Palm, retail vacancy rates have dropped below 3% as demand for ground floor space really grows. High-end tenants are competing for leases in mixed-use developments, and developers are responding by repurposing outdated buildings into Class A office and retail space. What's attracting them? South Florida's tax structure, the lifestyle appeal, and a regulatory environment that all play a role. There's also a massive cultural shift. Executives and entrepreneurs are looking for more than just square footage nowadays. They want momentum, and right now, South Florida has it, let's just be real. But momentum definitely creates pressure. As more professionals settle in, housing prices continue to climb, and some local businesses really feel squeezed out of the prime retail corridors and spots. School zoning, parking, and traffic are becoming major concerns in neighborhoods that were once quiet. It all adds up to a bigger question though. Is this economic evolution creating opportunity for everyone, or just accelerating the divide between the new South Florida and the one that people remember? Because once you start pulling on the thread of who actually gets to stay and who's left behind, you start to see something deeper that's starting to unravel. Housing prices in South Florida are creating a completely new landscape. For example, in Miami-Dade County, the median home price is right around $675,000, while condo sales are down nearly 25%, and overall sales have declined about 20% year over year, but prices are still up. In some suburbs though, so-called starter homes are now crossing the $1 million mark, which is crazy. That shift is pushing development beyond traditional boundaries. Suburban sprawl continues unchecked. With municipalities expanding road and utility infrastructure, it seems like every road's getting expanded right now. However, studies suggest that these low-density areas may not generate enough tax revenue to sustain their own growth. I mean, some apartments out west are just as much as they are out east. At the same time, population outflow from the city center has accelerated. Miami's growth has pushed development north and westward into both Broward and Palm Beach counties. It seems like everyone's moving into Broward, straining resources and stretching municipal budgets. However, there is legislation aimed at increasing housing supply, such as the 2023 Live Local Act, which encourages accessory units and multifamily zoning. But oversupply in some suburbs may already be dragging down resale values for some smaller homes, making affordability even murkier. So what does it mean when prices soar? New homes spread further out, but people still struggle to find a place within their reach? Are we building enough housing to match demand, or just hoping the growth will solve itself? We're honestly kind of already built. All they could do is just try to transform some of these golf courses into neighborhoods, and they're doing that, but these homes are still over $1 million, unless you go further north into like northern Palm Beach County, Palm Beach Gardens, maybe into St. Lucie County. Downtown areas that once struggled to stay relevant are now completely transforming. Coral Gables has been investing in pedestrian corridors and a free trolley system that carries more than 5,000 passengers daily. The result, historic charm is finally meeting modern convenience. Then in West Palm, they recently released a revised downtown master plan with a huge focus on walkability and mixing housing, retail, and office space for the first time in nearly 2 decades. Honestly, City Place is sweet. The goal is to create a more livable, lively street area where residents can walk to shop and dine rather than drive. Then in Fort Lauderdale, Flagler Village is proof that industrial zones can be reimagined. Old warehouses, now house startups, restaurants, and creative offices. The neighborhood feels like it's finally waking up after years of really being overlooked. But city planners do stress that walkability is not just an aesthetic. It can help reduce traffic congestion, encourage local spending, and promote overall just healthier communities. Still, many of the old neighborhoods remain under some pressure, let's be honest. Redevelopment often raises rents and property taxes, which can push out the very people who made these areas so vibrant in the first place. Is it possible, though, to balance this preservation with progress when old and new intersect so closely? When revitalization happens, who truly benefits and who honestly just might be sidelined at the end of the day? And hidden beneath the plans and the polished sidewalks and all the fancy renderings, a subtle shift is taking shape, one that could change the soul of these communities in ways that few are really ready to admit. The Bright Line is redefining travel in South Florida. In March of 2025, nearly 280,000 passengers boarded this high-speed train, and long-distance ridership surged nearly 28% year over year. The 235-mile route from Miami to Orlando now just takes only 3.5 hours, offering a reliable alternative to unpredictable highway traffic. And honestly, it's kind of nice to just sit back and relax. I mean, we took it down to the Marlins game, and my dad and I have even taken it all the way up to Orlando. It definitely beats driving and the traffic. For drivers, the situation tells a completely different story. Miami consistently ranks among the top 10 most congested cities in the entire United States. Commuters lose more than 50 hours a week to gridlock, and the annual cost of congestion across the region nears $800 per driver in wasted time and fuel. Meanwhile, large-scale upgrades are barely keeping pace with all the growth that's happening. Miami International Airport is undergoing a massive renovation to prepare for increased traveler demand and global events through 2026. At the same time, the Port of Miami completed a deepening and expansion project in 2025, enabling it to welcome larger international container ships and boosting cargo capacity. It's also one of the top 5 busiest cruise ports in the world. But even with multi-million-dollar investments and high-profile projects, transportation gaps remain pretty glaring. In suburban and low-income areas, only a small percentage of daily trips rely on public transit. It's a pain in the butt to go east and west. Buses and commuter trains are overcrowded during peak hours and often run on unreliable schedules, and really you can only take them north and south. The contrast is stark. High-speed rail and flashy airport terminals grab headlines, yet too many people still face daily challenges getting around. It raises a real question. Are those improvements building a new connected future that benefits everyone? Or is it just widening the gap between what's possible and really what's available? And if a break in the system emerges, and it happens, it could bring every plan into question. I'm not gonna lie to you, South Florida is evolving at a pace that feels almost impossible to track. Towers are rising, wealth is pouring in, and entire districts are being reimagined from the ground up. To some though, this feels like long overdue progress. Cities are modernizing and the economy is booming. And global attention is shifting here in a way that once felt kind of out of reach. But for others, the picture is just a little bit more complicated. The cost of housing is climbing, daily routines are being completely disrupted, and the familiar rhythms of life are starting to shift. It's not just about the buildings or traffic or even the prices. It is about identity, about whether the soul of South Florida is expanding or just being completely rewritten. And there is no final answer, just a series of changes playing out in real time. Some will benefit, while others may be left wondering when the place they call home stopped really feeling like home. And if there is one constant in all of this though, it is that by the time most people realize what's actually happening, it might already be too late to reverse it. So if you're thinking about making a move or just trying to figure out how all of this change might affect you and your family, reach out to me and my team. We help people just like you every single day. Our contact information is on the screen and in the description below. We're always here to help you make sense of what's happening and where you really fit into it. And if you want to keep exploring what life is really like here in sunny South Florida, stick around and check out some of the other videos on this channel. From our community tours to new developments and really pretty much everything in between, this is where you get the full true picture of what life is like here in South Florida.